Okay, let's look at the key of C. Sometimes we're in the key of C and it's not our choice. We just have to play in it. And it can be sort of basic, standard. So what are some things in the key of C that we can take advantage of, okay? For one, we have to think about muting that low E most of the time when we're in the key of C, okay? So I'll just kind of cheat a little bit and see this thumb over here in my left hand. Hello, I missed the thumb. Instead of having it back here like the proper guitar technique says, let's go ahead and bring it around and just let it lightly touch the low E, okay? So we get that kind of a sound. And so that way when we play a C chord, if we're strumming, we're not going to get all this extra E. So just bring that around, find a way to mute that. Another way would be to just use this ring finger on your left hand and just, again, just by gently touching that string, it mutes it. But I like this one better. So there's our C. And let's add, if we're going to do a 2 chord, a C2, we could go. Okay, take off the middle finger there, and you have to make sure it's not my favorite voicing. It's a little muddy. So another thing we could do is here's the 2 right there. So we could, that's a C2, but I'm getting some of that E in there. So we could go ahead and hold down the G, this note right here, and that's a full-on C2 right there. There are no thirds being played. It's just root, second, and fifth. So we went from a basic C chord to a C2. So we just move our fingers a little bit. And again, very open sounding. It doesn't define if it's major or minor. Okay, now let's go back to a C and do a C sus4. So put our pinky there, and again, I'm going to bring this around because we don't want the low E sounding out. We also don't want the high E sounding out on a sus chord. It's kind of modern sounding though. It's almost kind of cool, but only if you really meant to do it. So typically, we don't want the E to ring out if we're playing a sus. So let's figure out how we can mute this high E string, okay? I'm going to vote for this index finger here to just ever so slightly touch that high E. So practice that. It's ringing out, and then when I go to the sus, I'm going to drop that index finger just so it's not ringing out, okay? So practice that, just going from C to the C sus without letting that high E ring out. Another way I've done it sometimes is if you want to put the G up top, you can. It's a little bit more of a hand contortion, but. Okay, so there's our C4. Let's look at a C5 if we're trying to get more of that Celtic kind of thing. Here's our C chord, and then instead of letting the E ring out, which is the third, we're going to try to put the G on top, which is the fifth of the chord, and we get more of a. The way. There's that sus again, another way to play sus with the 5. But the idea is to be able to maximize the number of strings we're playing so we can get the biggest sound that we can, because many times we're not with a band. We don't have the luxury of carrying a band everywhere with us. So if we're in a Bible study or we're leading worship by ourselves on a Wednesday night, we're trying to get the most sound that we can out of this acoustic guitar and 6 strings. Okay, so that's a C5. You'll use that a lot. Again, just take some time, and this is like an exercise where you just start with a basic chord and then go ahead and alter it and say it out loud. There's the C. There's the C. Add 9. or that there's the C2. Now go back to a C. Okay, C. Now there's a C sus 4. Okay, and then go back to a C. How do I make a C5? Okay, a C5 would be, I'd just add the pinky. Again, just get away from the finger blob mentality and try to see how these chords are all related and they're just slight alterations of the basic chord. Now let's go to a C6 chord. Not used very often, but... And then C major 7. There's the C. And then C major 7. And then, of course, we know the C7. Reminds me of a Beatles song. Okay, then C major 7, C dominant 7, okay? C. Now here's just for a little extra credit. Sometimes I'll go up here and use a little bar chord. That's a great C2 voicing. It's like an A2, but I'm sliding it up and I'm barring this. We haven't talked about bar chords, but just think of it as there's your A2 and I'm sliding it up. Okay. Again, a movable shape. If I slide it up 2 more frets, it's a D2. I can slide it down and do like a B flat 2. Ouch. That takes a little hurt right there. There's these bar chords, which we'll address a little bit later. But that's that muscle right there. So we have to kind of build up